The Transformers was a very popular cartoon in the 1980s. It first appeared on television in 1984. The show was not on Nickelodeon. It was on other channels that many kids watched after school. The story was about giant robots from a planet called Cybertron. These robots could change into cars, trucks, and airplanes. The good robots were the Autobots, led by Optimus Prime. The bad robots were the Decepticons, led by Megatron. They fought big battles to protect Earth and find energy. The show was exciting and full of action. Now let's imagine a different story. What if the Transformers did not air in 1984? What if it came to Nickelodeon instead? Let's say the show started on Nickelodeon in September 1988. It would be a brand new show for a new group of kids. This would be a few years after the original show ended. The Transformers would run for a long time on Nickelodeon. It would stay on the channel until August 1993. This means it would be a part of Nickelodeon's afternoon shows. It would be there for 5 whole years for kids to watch and enjoy every day after school. This new timeline would be very important for the show. Being on Nickelodeon would give the Transformers a special home. Nickelodeon was a channel just for kids. It was a place where many famous cartoons were born. The Transformers would sit alongside other popular shows on the network. This could help the robot heroes become even more famous. Instead of being one of many action cartoons on different channels, it would be a star show on the #1 kids network. This move could have changed everything for the Autobots and Decepticons, giving them a fresh start. Airing on Nickelodeon would mean the Transformers would be seen by millions of children. Nickelodeon was growing very fast in the late 1980s. It was becoming the channel that every kid wanted to watch. By placing the Transformers on its schedule, Nickelodeon would be making a big statement. It would be saying that it had the coolest and most exciting cartoons. For the show, this would mean a new generation of fans. Kids who were too young to see the original show would now discover the world of Cybertron for the first time on their favorite channel. So, why would Nickelodeon want the Transformers in 1988? The biggest reason would be the toys. The Transformers toys were incredibly popular. Kids everywhere loved collecting the robot figures. They spent hours changing them from robots to vehicles and back again. Nickelodeon would see this popularity as a huge opportunity. A show based on the most wanted toys would surely bring many viewers to their channel. Having the cartoon would make kids who owned the toys want to watch Nickelodeon. It was a smart way to attract a large and dedicated audience. Nickelodeon also needed more shows with action and adventure. In the late 1980s, the channel was famous for its game shows and comedies. Shows like Double Dare were very popular, but Nickelodeon did not have many action cartoons. The Transformers would fill this gap perfectly. It offered thrilling battles, science fiction stories, and heroic characters. This would make Nickelodeon's programming more diverse. It would give kids who loved action a reason to tune in. The channel could be the home for fun and slime, but also for epic robot fights. Another reason is that Nickelodeon had success with other cartoons. The channel was already showing cartoons from other countries. They knew that kids loved animated shows. Bringing a big American cartoon like the Transformers would be a logical next step. It was a proven hit. It had already been successful a few years earlier. For Nickelodeon, it was a safe bet. They could bring back a famous show and make it their own. This would help them compete with other channels that had their own popular action cartoons, making Nickelodeon stronger. Finally, the timing was just right. By 1988, other action shows from the mid-1980s were getting older. Kids were ready for something new or a cool show to come back. The Transformers had been off the air for a little while. This made it the perfect time for a revival. Nickelodeon could present it as a major television event. They could advertise the return of Optimus Prime and his amazing friends. This would build a lot of excitement. It would make Nickelodeon the must-watch channel for kids who missed the Autobots or were ready to meet them for the first time. If the Transformers had aired on Nickelodeon, it would have become much more popular. Being on a single, kid-focused channel would have helped a lot. In the 1980s, cartoons were on many different local stations. This meant some kids might miss it. But on Nickelodeon, the Transformers would be on one channel, everywhere in the country. This would make it easier for every kid to find and watch. The show would have a consistent home. This would help it build a larger and more loyal group of fans who watched it every single day. This new popularity would have a big impact on Nickelodeon. The Transformers would likely become one of the network's biggest hits. Its success would show Nickelodeon that kids really loved action-packed stories. The channel might have looked for more shows like it. They might have started to create their own action cartoons sooner. The network's identity could have changed. It would still be the place for messy game shows, but it would also be known as the best place for cartoons with heroes, villains, and exciting adventures. The channel would have a broader appeal. The success of the Transformers could have also changed the toys. With the show on Nickelodeon for 5 years, the toys might have stayed in stores for longer. The cartoon would act like a long commercial. New toys could have been made to go with the show. Maybe new characters would be introduced on the show to sell new figures. This continued success could have kept the Transformers brand very strong through the early 1990s. The connection between the popular show on Nickelodeon and the toys in the store would be powerful. This change would also affect other networks. Other channels would have to compete with Nickelodeon's big new hit. They might have tried to create their own robot shows to win back viewers. This could have led to a new wave of action cartoons in the early 1990s. Nickelodeon, with the Transformers as its star show, would be leading the way. The channel would be seen as a trendsetter in children's television. It would prove that a kids-only network could have the most popular action show on TV, changing the rules of the game for everyone else. The arrival of the Transformers on Nickelodeon would have definitely changed the Nicktoons. Nickelodeon launched its own cartoons called Nicktoons in 1991. These first 3 shows were Doug, Rugrats, and The Ren and Stimpy Show. These shows were very creative and different. They were mostly about comedy, feelings, and everyday life. They were a big change from the action cartoons of the 1980s. The creators wanted to make cartoons that were not just about selling toys. They focused on unique stories and characters that kids could relate to in a new way. But what if the Transformers was already a huge hit on the channel? Nickelodeon might have wanted one of its first Nicktoons to be an action show. Seeing how much kids loved the Autobots, they might have asked for a show with similar excitement. Perhaps one of the first Nicktoons would have been a science fiction adventure or a superhero story. This would have been very different from the Nicktoons we know. The network might have wanted to create its own Transformers instead of something completely new like Rugrats. This could mean that a show like Doug or Rugrats might not have been chosen at first. Nickelodeon might have thought these shows were too quiet or too slow compared to the success of the Transformers. They might have wanted a Nicktoon with more action to guarantee a hit. This could have delayed the start of the creator-driven cartoons that made Nickelodeon famous. The network's creative direction might have shifted. The focus could have been on copying the success of an existing show instead of trying something brand new and risky. In the end, this what-if story shows how one change can affect everything. If the Transformers had found its home on Nickelodeon, the show itself might have become more legendary. It would have been a cornerstone of the most important kids channel of its time. For Nickelodeon, it would have brought action into its lineup earlier and more powerfully. This might have altered the development of its original Nicktoons, perhaps leading to a different kind of creative revolution. The history of both the giant robots and the orange splat network would have been transformed forever.